When it comes to emergency fire starters, the magnesium fire starter is the worst. What's up, guys? Dan here, Coalcracker. So I definitely broke some hearts with that opening statement. I know mine, it cracked at the top a little bit because the magnesium fire starting block, it was like the staple from, I'm gonna say, year 5 in Coalcracker's life until probably 18. I can remember being 18 years old and going out hunting and having a little survival kit with me, and this would have been part of it. And part of the reason why was because if you, again, we're old, right? You remember U.S. Cavalry? This was like the U.S. military survival fire starter. So if they had it, it had to be good. And then we got a little smart too and realized there's better things out there. And the world has just evolved into what? Big hunkin' ferro rods, okay? So these things are now the go-to, not so much this. But you might have one of these, or even with the holidays coming, you might have someone that you know that buys you a gift and they know you're into the outdoors and they buy you a little survival kit or survival items, and this comes out and you're like, oh, thanks Aunt whoever and Betsy, thanks for the fire starter, very cool. And then you're thinking, should I just throw this away in the woods and lose it forever? I'm here to say no, okay? Because although they're not optimal, they're definitely still a usable item. So let's break it down, right? So this system itself, all magnesium, and then what we have on the top is this black strip, which is a ferrocerium rod. So this throws our sparks the same as these big ones do today, and it works just as well. But those sparks, when you get to a smaller rod, the intensity is just not there, okay? You can still get sparks, you just don't get as much material off a rod like this as you do a big rod like this. And because of that, okay, the duration of the burn time of the sparks just isn't as long. So that's why we switched over, or one of the reasons we switched over to a bigger rod like this. So you still have a ferro rod. So if you have optimal material, you can still light it with this thing. So that's definitely positive. But really where this thing shines is the tinder that is built into it, and that is the magnesium. You see how much there is here. And that's where I could tell you, from this being my original fire starter, okay, lots of use on the rod itself, very little magnesium scraped off of this, and it should really be vice versa. We should be scraping a ton of magnesium off this thing and just a little bit off the rod, okay? Now, jumping ahead to modern day, why is Dan saying that the ferro rod is definitely superior? Well, of course, we have a bigger rod, so we can get a lot more material removed off it, longer burn time, longer duration burn time, and that's going to dry out subpar materials and then catch them on fire. So that is going to trump these little ferro rods. And then secondly, where we would normally scrape magnesium and get a pile and light it, which we're going to do here in a minute, now what we realized is, hey, we can just scrape our ferro rods slowly, make a pile of shavings of the ferrocerium, and then strike it once and light it, and it's going to have the same effect as the magnesium fire starting block would, except this gives continuous strikes, where if you run out of your striker here, the magnesium really doesn't serve any purpose, right? We can scrape it and scrape and scrape it. It's not going to give us a spark, so that's the downfall. But if you have one of these and it's in your kit, or somebody gives you one of these as a gift, just put this in your fire starting kit and use the magnesium and light it with this thing, right? But let's look if you have just this block, which I actually have a new one because I was at an event somewhere and they handed these things out. So we're going to use the brand new one. We're going to scrape the magnesium and light it and check it out. Now the key to this though, okay, the key to these blocks, which I think this is where a lot of people miss when they get into this, scrape a lot of magnesium. There's a lot here to be scraped away and to be ignited. So a few little shavings just isn't going to cut it. Scrape and scrape and scrape and scrape the hell out of that thing and get a good pile of magnesium and then ignite it, and you're going to just see how good that actually works. All right, so what you're going to notice here is that I am scraping lots of this magnesium onto fabric. We would never be able to do this with our ferrocerium rod and make shavings, because if we accidentally scrape too hard, what would happen is we'd ignite this and we would burn up our bag. So that is one thing that you can do here with this magnesium that you can't do with the ferrocerium. So that is definitely a win for this fire starting device overall. But what you're going to notice is I have a lot of material coming off of this thing in a very short time. I've only been at work for this for about 30 seconds, and you get really nice shavings here, lots of them really quick. And I'm only using this. If we switch over to something like a knife, I can even dig way more of this stuff off. And you just want to be consistent working across the face here so you're not giving yourself any kind of bumps or ridges. And if you do start getting ridges here, you can always flip this thing over and just go the other way right off the edge. Just again, making sure we work all directions so we don't get any weird spots that we can't get more material off of. But in a short time, you could see we really gathered a lot of this magnesium. So let's transfer this over to something and ignite it and watch how nice this burns. All right, so we're gonna transfer all of this over to my log right now. One thing I could tell you is that magnesium is definitely a lot lighter than weight-wise than ferrocerium, and I could tell you that because these shavings are blowing away. Whoa, don't lose all your stuff here, Dan. These shavings are blowing a lot quicker away in the wind where we're filming. So we want to make sure when we do this that we take in consideration wind and things like that. So this pile of magnesium now is a lot bigger than I would get with a ferro rod. A ferro rod would take forever to do this, and one, like I said, one little slip, not going to be too good. So now what we're going to do, we're going to use this little striker. We're going to just get this to strike. And you could see that is a nice fire. Okay, it burns quick, but again, this is going to be very similar to using our ferrocerium rod in the sense that this is going to just be an initial strike. Okay, so we're not looking at this magnesium buildup as tinder, we're looking at that as part of the initial flame source. So once I strike that, that is our initial flame source, no different than a match or a strike of a ferro rod, or in this case the magnesium mixed with the spark itself gives us that flame source, and that needs to dry out and begin burning whatever materials we have collected. All right, so if you like this video, hit like and subscribe down below. You can also check us out at Coalcracker.bushcraft.com for all our classes, our gear, and our blog. And then you should also sign up for our emails, because we send out emails usually once a week. We don't kill you with them, but with the holidays coming up, you'll be the first to see through our emails all the new products that we're going to be releasing. So if you're into that kind of stuff, definitely check that out. I will put it in the community tab there, how to sign up, or just go to the website, scroll all the way down and sign up for our email list, and you'll be happy you did. So until next video, stay in the woods.